Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing some longer-term technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets because for the last month or so, I've been saying that Bitcoin is in the process of moving into a new accumulation phase here at the tail end of the 2018 bear market, and I do believe that after this accumulation phase wraps up, then we're going to be entering a new bull market. And of course, that leaves people with the question, well, Jeb, how long is this accumulation phase actually going to last? How long are we going to have to wait for the next Bitcoin bull market? So that's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. I'm going to be talking about how long accumulation phases typically last, and we're going to be talking about how long I think we're going to have to wait until we see the beginning of a new Bitcoin bull market, I believe, coming in early 2019. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. In this video, we are going to be using the Bitfinex chart. Now, of course, for my shorter term technical analysis lately, I've been using the Coinbase chart, but unfortunately, the Coinbase chart does not go back and show as much of the 2014-15 bear market as the Bitfinex one does. So we're going to be using the Bitfinex chart. We're doing very, very little short-term TA in this video, so it shouldn't matter all that much. Now, there's a couple of different things that I want to look at. There are two different ways that I want to look at how I would make my prediction about how long the accumulation phase would look. And one thing you guys have to realize about the way I do these videos is that many times I'm not always presenting scenarios that are what I believe to be the most likely. I'm presenting different scenarios that show you guys different ways that the market can move. And I also show you different ways that you can make different predictions, so you can go out there and do it yourself and pick which one you think is more valid to you and your situation, the market you're looking at, etc., etc., etc. A lot of times people see me say two different things that seem to be contradicting each other, but in fact, I'm just showing you guys a couple of different scenarios and a couple of different ways to look at the same set of data that we're looking at here on our chart. So in this video, I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be showing you guys two different ways that we could be making a prediction about how long the accumulation phase would last. And the first, and what I think is it's not the least valuable, but one of the ways that we're not going to be putting all of the weight on, this will definitely be valuable later, is to look at how long the previous accumulation phase lasted here in Bitcoin. And to do that, we have to define the previous bear market, the previous accumulation phase, and the previous bull market before the actual bear market and accumulation phase we've been in here during 2018. And that's very simple to do in hindsight. Of course, this is always much, much easier to do when you have the benefit of hindsight. But here in 2014 and 15, I would say that the Bitcoin bear market started right over here and ended right over here. And let me show you why. Right up here, of course, in hindsight, it's very easy to say when a bear market started. It was right over here when we hit this all-time high, here at about $1,150 and some change. And right over here, I would say that the bear market mostly ended right when we broke this level of support down here at $300 and pulled all the way back down here to around $160, $170, and then got a bounce. I would say this territory right here is right around the time that we ended the bear market and moved into the accumulation phase. So with that in mind, that means that this accumulation phase starts right over here, and I believe that it ends right about over here. So I explained why I think the accumulation phase starts and the bear market ends here, and I believe the new bull market starts right about here. And the reason it starts right about here, that's a little bit more complicated, but right about the 13th of October, 2015, I do believe to be the very beginning of the 2016-17 bull market. I'm not going to get into why I believe it started right there in this video because that is a little complicated, but I did do a dedicated video to that a couple months ago. You can watch that video in the top right if you are at all interested. So what do we have here? We have the beginning of we have the beginning of the bear markets right over here. The beginning of the accumulation phase is right here, and the beginning of the bull market is right here. With that data, we can get an idea of how long the bear market lasted and how long the accumulation phase lasted so that we can extrapolate that out into our own market. And if we go ahead and get rid of these ugly little circles on our chart right here, we'll be able to see this a little bit better. I'm also going to get rid of this curve right here. And what I want to do here is I want to look at how long the bear market was and then compare that to how long the accumulation phase was here so that we can extrapolate that out into our own market and use this in the next scenario that we're going to be looking at. So if we take our little ruler over here on TradingView, you have this little ruler right here, and you take this and you drag this from this area to right over here, and you click it, what you'll see is right down here, this shows about 400 bars, and 400 bars in this case, we're on the daily chart, so that's about 400 candlesticks, so that's about 400 days. A little over a year was the length of this bear market from right around the time it began, right over here, to right around the time it ended right over here. A little over 400 bars. We'll call it 400 for the sake of simplicity, and I'll show you why that's such an easy number to work with here in just a bit. But if we take that and we say that the accumulation phase started right over here and ended right over here in October, then we see that the accumulation phase lasted about 270 days. So what does that mean? Well, the way that I want to do this is I don't want to say that just because the last accumulation phase lasted 270 days, That doesn't mean that the one that we're currently in is going to last 270 days. That would be irresponsible. That really wouldn't be a great way to do technical analysis. What I want to do instead, to build into the next scenario that we're going to talk about, is look at the ratio between the length of the previous bear market and the previous accumulation phase. So we see this is about 270 days, this accumulation phase, which takes up this area right here. Now, what does that mean? Well, we're looking at a little over, right around 400 days for a bear market, and about 270 days here down here for the accumulation phase. For simplicity, we're going to round that up to 200, or excuse me, round this up to 300 and round this down to 400, and say that the accumulation phase lasted about 3/4 as long as the bear market. And let's go and apply that to the bull market, to the bear market we're looking at right now. The bear market that we're looking at right now, obviously, in hindsight, it's very easy to say that it began right over here on the 17th of December. And I'm going to say that the bear market ended right over here when we first saw this little dump down here in early September. I believe that the bear market actually really started to end right here when we saw the end of volatility. We saw a lot of the volume leave, and we saw a lot of sideways trading action come. The volume has been slowly tapering off here for a very long time, and I do believe that the volume and the volatility dropping off has led us into what is now an accumulation phase when we're trading very much sideways here. And that's really what characterizes an accumulation phase: low volatility, low volume, a lot of sideways trading. I really do believe we've been in one for about a month now. I'm still waiting for some technical ways that we can prove that, like breaking this long-term descending triangle pattern. But mostly, I still think that we're basically in an accumulation phase. So we're going to say that the bear market ended right over here on around the 9th of September, again, for simplicity. When we're doing long-term technical analysis, we can make a couple of little oversimplifications like that, and we'll still get a good picture of what we're looking at here. So if we use that, then we can say that the bear market here in 2018 lasted about 265 days. And if you take 3/4 of 265, you're going to get around 200. Let's just call it 200 for simplicity. Like I said, we're not being exactly precise. We could say something like, I'm not going to do the math off the top of my head, it's around 187, something like that, days, if we were to take 3/4 of that length and apply that to the accumulation phase. So let's go ahead and take 200 days from over here in the beginning of September and drag that out. And we would say that if the same ratio between the bear market and the accumulation phase applies here in 2018 and 2019, as did apply in 2014 and 2015, we would say that the accumulation phase would end, and thus the the bull market would begin over here in late March of 2019. Now that I've got that out of the way, that's why I mentioned this earlier on in the video, this is but one scenario and an oversimplified one at that, but it is valuable for what we're about to talk about. If the market were to repeat itself in a very similar manner to what we saw in 2014 and 2015, we would see a new bull market kicking off in the first quarter of 2019, if we were to use that kind of technical analysis. Now, that is a very valid way to do your TA, but it's extremely oversimplified, and you want to be careful doing it, especially when we only have one data point, which is one bear market and one accumulation phase cycle. You want to use a little bit more TA than that when you're doing your long-term TA. So now that we've done that, I want to roll over what we just talked about into a bit more technical and fundamental analysis, and talk about why I do believe that this is actually a very valid prediction, and I think that the Bitcoin bull market will be starting sometime in January, February, or March of 2019. Putting my cards on the table, I think that's when the accumulation phase will be ending and when the new bull market will be beginning, is in Q1 of 2019. So like I said, we have that little bit of a comparison to the last bear market that we can use to get a good idea, but here are some more fundamental reasons. Of course, let's talk about the fundamentals first. We'll get to the technicals in a second of why I believe the Bitcoin bull market will be beginning. Then let's go back to the Coinbase chart, since we're not looking into history anymore. I do believe that right over here, a little bit after 2019, we're going to be seeing a bull market. Let's go ahead and put this right here. That represents the beginning of 2019. And there are a couple different reasons I believe that. One, we have BACT coming. We have a very, very, very big piece of news story coming a month from now, perhaps even less than a month from now, in BACT, in ICE's BACT, guys. That is going to be a massive, massive deal. I can't get into what exactly BACT is in this video. If I can remember what video it is, I do remember what video it is. I'll link it in the top right where I talk about BACT. If you guys aren't familiar with BACT and you're in the cryptocurrency space, you need to know about BACT. It's a very, very big news story that is going to be, it's already kind of been priced in and it's already been announced, so it's probably not going to be as big of a deal at the moment when it's announced that BACT is going live in November, as some people might think it is. But nevertheless, BACT going live is going to be a very, very big deal for the fundamentals, and I do believe that correlating with many other technicals that we'll be looking at in just a second, and that we've talked about in literally dozens of videos in the last couple of months, I do think is going to be a very, very big boon to the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market. Another thing that we want to look at is the VanEck and SolidX ETF coming, because the deadline for that is in Q1 of 2019. The SEC is going to have to either confirm or deny. They can't keep prolonging the decision on that Bitcoin ETF past Q1 of 2019. By the end of March, we're going to know whether the VanEck and SolidX Bitcoin ETF is going to actually be approved. And one of the problems that the SEC was probably looking at, they didn't really ever say this, but one of the problems that the SEC was probably looking at was the volatility for Bitcoin, because the last thing the SEC wants to do is get egg on his face by approving an ETF in a very unstable market and have a bunch of people lose money and then come yell at them for letting the ETF go through. So the fact that Bitcoin has been losing volatility, losing volume, and trading sideways for the last couple of months probably makes the SEC feel a little bit better about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. We've seen a lot of these scams kind of tail off. We've seen a lot of the bad stuff in cryptocurrency drop as the entire interest in the market drops. And overall, I think the SEC is getting a lot more confident in the cryptocurrency market. We have a lot of people on the actual panel that's reviewing these ETFs that are actually pro Bitcoin, or that are actually pro Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I do think that that is more than likely going to be approved, and if it's going to be approved, it's going to be approved within the next 4 or 5 months. And I do think that that would be also a massive boost and a massive catalyst to the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market. Not only do we have that happening, we have Fidelity stepping into the market. I'm not going to get too much into that story. I have a video linked in the top right where I talk about that as well. But overall, we have a lot of institutions getting into the market that are going to allow not only retail investors, but also institutional investors to step into the market in a very big way. And I do think institutional and retail investors are going to be stepping into the market in a very big way when we see just the slightest bit of upwards movement. Guys, if we get above $7,400, we've set a new higher high, and that's extremely bullish. And I think that would be the domino that would fall, that would kick off a new bull market. That alone could very easily kick off a new bull market. But not only do we have that coming, we also have all of these good fundamental developments. Bitcoin's development has continued to improve. We've seen a lot of regulatory clarity come into the space. Overall, the market's looking a lot more mature and a lot healthier than it was perhaps just a year ago today. Now let's look at some technical reasons for why I believe the Bitcoin bull market will be starting by the end of February 2019. That's my call. I've said that in several other videos. I do believe the Bitcoin bull market will be starting by the end of February 2019. So let's go ahead and talk about how that might happen and what that might look like. A couple of the different technicals that we want to look at include the 200 daily simple moving average, that being this line right up here. This is one of those dividing lines between Bitcoin bull markets and Bitcoin bear markets. The last time that we crossed this market bullish, we're going to have to go back to the Bitfinex chart. The last time we crossed this market bullish was back over there on October the 13th, where I talked about how I believe that was the beginning of the last Bitcoin bull market. And that was the last time we crossed bullish above this simple moving, above the simple moving average. Right over here, it was right over here, about October the 13th of 2015. This is one of the several indications that tell me that this is right around the time the 2016-17 bull market started. This was right around the time that we got above this simple moving average. And right now, as it looks in Bitcoin's history at the moment, this moving average is not very far north of us. It's not even $1,000 north of us, guys. It's very, very close. And if we break bullish out of this long-term descending triangle pattern here, we're almost inevitably going to come up and break bullish above that 200 daily simple moving average. And guys, the last time we broke bullish above that, we got a 2-year bull run. It's a very, very big deal, and I do see a lot of crypto YouTubers, and I see a lot of technical analysts looking at that simple moving average as one of the many confirmations of a new Bitcoin bull market. Not only that, if we see Bitcoin get above this 200 daily simple moving average, we're almost inevitably going to see the exuberance of that bring us above $7,400 up here, and getting above that, setting a new higher high above a previous high, will also be an early warning sign of a bull market. We're not very far away, guys. Now look, I want to cover all my bases here and tell you guys that yes, there is a potential that we don't do anything of what I just said and that we go below $6,000 and we stay down there for another year. There is definitely a possibility of that, guys. This is a market. This is not something you can predict. This is weather, not climate. This is something that is difficult to predict, but I do think what I'm talking about is right here because I've been in the market for a very long time, guys. I do technical analysis on the market literally every single day, and I've been doing so for more than a year. I see a lot of different opinions in the cryptocurrency space. I read literally hundreds of comments every single day. I have a pretty good understanding of what the majority of people in the cryptocurrency space think, and I do believe that what I'm saying here is the most likely scenario, and I do think that we are going to be breaking bullish out of this and moving into a new Bitcoin bull market by the end of February 2019. Guys, there are literally about a dozen other technical indicators I can go into as to why I believe a new Bitcoin bull market will be forming in the next 6 months or so. But I really don't think it's even necessary here, guys. I think I've made my point, and I have plenty of other videos on the channel explaining why I believe that. If you guys are interested, feel free to browse the channel, and you will see a lot of different reasons why I believe one is coming, and it's coming sooner than we might be expecting. But tell me in the comments section down below what you guys think of that technical analysis. Do you agree with my sentiment that a proper Bitcoin bull market will be starting by the end of February 2019? That's my call. If it doesn't happen by then, feel free to come back to this video and comment on it. Come tell me I was wrong. I'm very happy to accept when I am wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be. Anyway, guys, we're definitely going to see how that plays out. If you guys are interested in learning how to do technical analysis, I find a lot of value in it. Not only is it very rewarding for me to do, I very much enjoy doing technical analysis, it's also very profitable because technical analysis, no matter what anyone tells you, does work, and it is a very valuable skill for any trader or investor to have. And if you guys are interested in learning how to do technical analysis, there's a link to join the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy down below. We have 20 videos and over 5 hours of content where I teach you a lot about technical analysis and about how I do my technical analysis, and I'm going to be uploading some more videos to that within the next week. So if you guys are already in the course, you're going to be getting those videos for free, but if you're not, go ahead and join down with the link down below. I'll be happy to see you guys over there. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.